Ah, fragrances. That delightful odour that makes you think that somebody's taken the time to make themselves smell all nice and pleasant for everybody else. When in reality it might just be that they just like it for themselves. Or they just feel forced by the conforms of society to do what everybody else is doing, or what they believe everybody else is doing. Because after all, we all see adverts indicating that stuff like this will keep you smelling nice and fresh and allow you to exercise like crazy without sweating. I think that's more this one than that one. And of course this one does sort of hint that it will attract the ladies a bit more. Never seen an advert where they claim that it'll attract men, or don't think I've ever seen anything that'll claim that it'll attract men, but that's beside the point. At the end of the day right now, I'm going to review some fragrances. Some I got for Christmas, one or two I use myself on a more regular basis, and we're going to see what I can tell from them. First up, Show for Men. It's something I've been using quite a bit over the last couple of years or so. Before that I quite regularly used Lynx, and it never really seemed to work in that regard as far as attracting women is concerned. But as far as stopping you from sweating and stuff like that is concerned, these both work quite well. Okay, no complaints either way. The smell from this, you might be wondering how I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a piece of paper, and I'm just going to fold it over like so. I'm going to shake the can up. You have to twist it this way, as if though it's some sort of thermal detonator. That's it. It does vaguely resemble a lightsaber in some regards. Maybe it's what they were going for, maybe it's coincidental. Let's give that a spray. And it's not really something I can really identify, to be honest. Let's just say it's an adrenaline rush that's supposed to last 48 hours. It's got a motion sense system. It's long-lasting antiperspirant. It's labelled as adventure. But beyond that, let's just see the ingredients. I don't think the camera wants to focus on that. I'll just move it away. The ingredients. Butane. Warnings about solvent abuse and that's explosive. Oh, it's from Unilever. Extremely flammable aerosol. Yeah, you might have covered that with that, but never mind. In other words, just don't chuck it on fire. And if you've got a cigarette lighter, yes, you could, if you want, light it in front and then press the button. You could do that pretty much any of them, and it will act like a miniature flamethrower. Don't do that, it's fucking dangerous, you retard. But as far as the smell is concerned, I'm really at a loss. It's very pleasant. Slight hint of sort of oranges, I suppose. Oh, the focus is gone. So smell-wise, you can certainly smell a bit of chemicals, and it's a bit orangey to a degree, but not much that you can really identify. Let's just move that back. I think that's just fiddling around with the camera just a little too much there. So let's move on to Lynx. Sleek black design, same sort of warnings on it, the ingredients and so on. But what about the smell? Let's turn the piece of paper the other way around and let's twist it this way, because they love changing the way these are actually handled. I'm turning the paper to the other side. Again, hard to describe what the actual smell is supposed to be, because one thing you do notice is that there's a very sort of cool hint to it. It smells cool, if that's possible to actually summarise it as. And by that I mean, as you breathe it in, you can feel a sort of cool hint to the air molecules themselves, if that makes any sense. Obviously I'm not taking deep breaths, by the way. Okay, I'm not doing it like some sort of solvent abusing junkie or anything like that. I'm literally just wafting it off the paper quite lightly. Okay, so like that. But again, it's hard to describe. It certainly smells beautiful, but that's really all I could describe it as. One thing I have to notice, Lynx over the years have changed the design of their tops quite drastically. They've had various different arrangements. This twist top is actually quite nice and stylish one, but you do end up wondering what they're going to come up with next. Next up, this was a Christmas gift. FC UK. Now they have been somewhat controversial over the years in Britain. FC is French Connection. FC UK was a branding thing that continues to this day. And of course they have put t-shirts out with FC UK. And of course, as I'm sure you can quite easily imagine, you probably figured it out within about 2 seconds of seeing the bottle, just what that might be mistaken for. So you've got people with FC UK t-shirts going around. Some employers have banned their staff from wearing those sort of t-shirts or any of the branding that has FC UK written on it at all, on the grounds that it might offend some people. Yes, we can all imagine what those sort of employers are like, and we can all imagine what somebody that easily offended must be. They're just somebody you wouldn't want to meet, really. Somebody with no life to enjoy, no enjoyment out of life. Somebody who quite frankly must be duller than watching paint dry, to be frank. But as far as the bottle itself is concerned, let's see. Yes, it just looks like a quite bog standard aerosol delivery method. Give it a little shake. I've turned the paper inside out now. There we go. Little spray. Now that's got a sort of hint to it that sort of knocks your senses a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to sort of nudge you nudge you awake if you were feeling slightly sleepy. But there's a slight sort of ever so slight hint of turpentine behind that. But not unpleasantly so. I will say though that as far as using this is concerned, it's a bit pathetic. And by that I mean that to actually get any kind of antiperspirant effect from it, you have to spray quite a bit of it on you. I'll tell you why. When I go to work, I have to take a 15-minute car journey, and I have to park my car about 15 minutes from where I work, because there's no parking spaces available where I work, and everywhere between where I do park and where I work, there's no free spaces either. It's all either parking spaces that you have to pay so much for per hour or per half hour or per 2 hours, or it's all residential areas that you aren't allowed to park in without a permit. But it's a 15-minute walk, and by the time I get to work, if I'm wearing this, I have to go to the toilets in order to wipe down my armpits. Admittedly, I do walk quite briskly, but this and this, the same walk, no problem whatsoever. This, on the other hand, just problems unless I spray half the bottle on me. Now, this is something I've not actually used at all. Now, I've done some test footage in the past, and it's very difficult to actually angle this so that you can actually see the writing on it through the camcorder. It's more pot look than anything else here. But this is called Nathan Hall. I'm not actually managing to hit the sweet spot as far as getting into position for you. I do apologise. It's called Black Tie. It's a body spray. And of course the writing on this clear translucent bottle is more or less impossible to read through the camcorder. But it does give directions. It's to use spray lightly over skin. It's a long-lasting natural spray of fine fragrance. Caution flammable, blah blah blah. I've never actually used it, and I don't know why. But when you take the top off, you see that it's just a more elaborate sort of version of the basic display thing that you've got on there. Okay, so let's have a little shifty of this. And the first time I tried spraying this stuff, it just didn't want to work at all. Second time though, works a charm, so it must have needed to have stuff pumped through a bit. And that's a much stronger smell. It literally assaults and sort of burns the nostrils just a little bit. Not unpleasantly so though, I must say that. Again, a slight ever so slight a sort of suggestion of turpentine, but that's probably just coincidental. I don't think they're actually putting turpentine into their products. It's just probably a very similar chemical reaction process. But overall, I think it's probably best to spray this stuff. It just makes me think of the perfume counter that you see in Boots and so on, whether you see the ladies spraying it onto their arms and then having a sniff. That is quite powerful, but I'm at a loss as to what it's supposed to actually represent. And then, just like the perfume people, I wipe that off. But there's no other instructions beyond just spraying it lightly over the skin, so I don't think this is really a body spray or anything like this. I think this is more sort of scent to add onto your wrists or something like what I've just done. It still smells quite good actually, but I suppose that's more sort of something you'd put on a night out when you want to go on the pull, or if you're on a date and you want to smell your absolute best. Question is, what would you wear that in combination with? I don't know, because I'm not really a scent person. I just prefer to put something like this on to make sure I smell my best and stay fresh. Well, I'll leave that to you to decide.